When Nia first arrived in Bamenda as Akong's new bride, she felt like the luckiest woman alive. The town was alive with the sounds of taxis honking, market women calling out their prices, and the smell of roasted plantains drifting through the air. Akong was charming, handsome, and kind. His smile could calm her on the most stressful days. And his mother, Mama Ino, welcomed her with warm hugs and sweet words. At first, Mama Ino treated Nia like a daughter. She would invite her into the kitchen to cook together, telling her stories about Akong's childhood while the stew simmered. She brought Nia little gifts, fabric from the market, fresh palm oil, even a gold bangle, just for my new daughter. Nia felt safe. She believed she had joined a family that truly loved her. But slowly, tiny cracks began to appear. Sometimes Mama Ino's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Sometimes after offering Nia a compliment, she would slip in a little jab, "You did well for a village girl," followed by a laugh as if it were just a joke. When visitors came, Mama Ino would talk over Nia, answering questions meant for her. Once, Nia overheard her telling a neighbor, "She means well, but she still has a lot to learn to be a proper wife for my son." Nia tried to ignore these moments, convincing herself she was imagining things. But deep down, a small, uneasy feeling began to grow, a whisper in her heart that perhaps Mama Ino's welcome wasn't as warm as it seemed. The first months of marriage should have been the happiest time of Nia's life, but in Akong's family home, each day began to feel heavier than the last. Mama Ino's warm tone from the wedding days had turned sharp, her words often slicing through Nia's heart like a knife. "Why is this soup so watery? In this house we don't eat food like in the village," she would say, pushing her plate away. If Nia wore her favorite wrapper, Mama Ino would glance at it and murmur, "You should dress more like a city woman. You're a businessman's wife now." Even the way Nia cleaned was never right. "You don't know how to keep a proper home. This is not your father's compound." At first, Nia tried to smile and take the advice, thinking maybe Mama Ino just wanted to help her improve. But the comments never stopped. No matter how well she cooked, cleaned, or dressed, Mama Ino found something to point out. Every day it was something new, her accent, her posture, the way she greeted visitors. What made it worse was Akong's silence. When Nia complained softly to him at night, he would sigh and say, "Mama is just being Mama. Don't take it to heart." He never defended her, never told his mother to stop. His quiet avoidance left Nia feeling alone, like she was fighting a battle no one else could see. Some days she tried to fight back with polite words. Other days she stayed silent, swallowing the hurt because arguing only made Mama Ino smirk, as if she had proven a point. The air in the house became tense, thick with unspoken anger. At night, Nia would lie awake, staring at the ceiling while Akong snored beside her, wondering if this was what the rest of her life would feel like, walking on eggshells, trying not to upset the woman whose approval she once thought she had. Deep inside, she wished Akong would just hold her hand in front of his mother and say, "Nia is my wife, respect her." But that day never came, and the loneliness began to creep into her heart like a shadow she couldn't escape. When baby Kima was born, Nia felt like the whole world had turned brighter. The tiny fingers, the soft coos, the way Kima's eyes seemed to search for her face. It was a kind of love Nia had never known before. Even Mama Ino's eyes softened when she first saw her granddaughter. She held Kima close, her face glowing, and said, "Ah, this one will be strong like her grandmother." From that moment Mama Ino was always around. She told Nia, "You are young. You don't know all the ways to raise a healthy baby. In my time, children hardly got sick because we had our remedies." She spoke with such confidence, like she knew exactly what to do. First, Nia was grateful. Having someone experienced around seemed like a blessing. Mama Ino would take Kima in the mornings, humming old lullabies as she rocked her. Sometimes she massaged the baby with herbal oils, saying it would make her bones strong. Other times she would prepare special teas, dipping her finger in and letting the baby taste a drop. "This keeps the stomach clean," she'd say, waving off Nia's questions. But little by little, something about Mama Ino's help began to bother Nia. She noticed how the older woman always insisted on being alone with Kima when giving her these remedies. If Nia entered the room unexpectedly, Mama Ino would quickly put the bottle or cup aside. When Nia asked what was inside, the answer was always vague. Just herbs, my dear. You wouldn't understand. Friends from church told Nia to be careful. They said not all traditional methods were safe for newborns. Still, Nia didn't want to accuse her mother-in-law without proof. She tried to believe that Mama Ino's intentions were pure. After all, everyone in the family seemed to adore Kima. Yet deep down, a small uneasiness started to grow in Nia's heart. Sometimes she caught Mama Ino staring at the baby with an expression she couldn't quite read. Not just love, but something else, something harder to name. Nia brushed the feeling aside, telling herself she was just tired and overthinking. But a quiet voice inside whispered that she should pay closer attention, because not all love is what it seems. It was a quiet afternoon, the kind Nia rarely got anymore. Baby Kima had finally fallen asleep, her soft breathing filling the room. Nia decided to take a moment for herself, folding laundry in the hallway while the house rested in peace. That's when she heard it, a low, urgent whisper coming from Mama Ino's room. At first, Nia wasn't trying to listen, but the words slipped out between the pauses, sharp and chilling. We must get rid of the problem before it grows. Yes, before it becomes too late. Mama Ino's voice was low, but every syllable felt like a pinprick to Nia's skin. She froze, a shirt clutched in her hands, her heart beginning to pound. Her mind spun. What problem? Who was she talking about? Nia took a step closer, careful not to make the floor creak. Mama Ino's tone was serious, almost angry. I've told you I have my own way. It must be done quietly. Then there was silence, followed by the click of the phone being set down. Nia's stomach twisted. An icy wave of fear washed over her, but she quickly told herself she was overreacting. Maybe Mama Ino was talking about a neighbor's issue, or some family matter she didn't understand. It couldn't be about her, or Kima. Still, the words wouldn't stop replaying in her mind. Get rid of the problem before it grows. She went back to folding clothes, but her hands trembled so much she kept dropping them. When Mama Ino walked past her a few minutes later, smiling like nothing had happened, Nia's chest tightened. She wanted to ask, but her tongue felt heavy. What if she was wrong? What if she sounded paranoid? All afternoon she tried to shake it off, burying herself in chores. But that night, as she lay in bed listening to Kima's gentle breathing, the unease kept creeping back. The way Mama Ino had whispered, the choice of words, the secrecy. Nia pulled her baby closer, kissing her tiny forehead. She told herself it was nothing, just a misunderstanding. Yet, deep in her heart, something had shifted. A seed of suspicion had been planted, and no matter how much she tried to ignore it, it was already beginning to grow. The sun was still high when Nia left the market, her basket full of fresh vegetables and ripe mangoes. She had planned to stop by a friend's house, but the clouds were gathering, and she decided to head home early before the rain came. She walked quickly through the busy streets, thinking about what to cook for dinner. When she reached the house, it was strangely quiet. Usually, she could hear Kima's giggles or Mama Ino's voice humming in the background. Nia pushed open the door and stepped inside, placing her basket on the table. That's when she heard a soft murmuring coming from the bedroom. She walked toward the sound, her steps slowing. The door was slightly open. Through the gap, she saw Mama Ino sitting on the edge of the bed, cradling Kima in her arms. In her hand was a small black bottle with no label, and she was feeding its contents to the baby with a tiny spoon. For a moment, Nia froze, her mind refusing to believe what she was seeing. Kima's little mouth opened weakly for another spoonful, and Mama Ino leaned closer, whispering something Nia couldn't hear. The smell drifting through the doorway was sharp, bitter, nothing like milk or medicine Nia knew. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear it in her ears. Without thinking, she pushed the door wide open. "What are you giving her?" she demanded, her voice trembling. Mama Ino jerked in surprise, nearly dropping the spoon. "It's just herbs," she said quickly, forcing a smile. "For strength. You wouldn't understand, my dear." But her hands shook as she tried to hide the bottle. Nia's eyes locked on it, black, unmarked, mysterious. She stepped forward, her arms reaching for her baby. "Give her to me," she said, her voice firm now. Mama Ino hesitated, then slowly handed over Kima. The baby whimpered softly, her warm little body pressed against Nia's chest. Nia didn't say another word. She just held her daughter tightly, the bitter smell still clinging to her nose. In that moment, a cold, heavy fear settled deep inside her. Whatever was in that bottle, she knew she couldn't ignore it anymore. Something was terribly, dangerously wrong. Nia's hands moved before her mind could even catch up. She stepped forward, grabbed the tiny spoon from Mama Ino's fingers, and clutched Kima tightly to her chest. The baby began to cry, her little face scrunching up, the sound cutting straight into Nia's heart. The small black bottle sat on the bed, its cap still off. A sharp, bitter smell rose from it, not the earthy scent of herbs or the sweetness of medicine, but something chemical, something that burned her nose as she breathed it in. Nia's stomach turned. Her eyes flicked from the bottle to Mama Ino, whose face had gone completely still like a mask. For a moment no one moved. The air between them was thick and heavy. Nia's pulse pounded in her ears. "What is this?" she asked, her voice low but shaking. Mama Ino didn't answer immediately. She just stared at Nia, her eyes unreadable. Finally she said, "I told you it's for her health. A family remedy." But her voice lacked the warmth she usually used when talking about her traditions. It sounded forced, almost defensive. And she didn't reach for the bottle, she just sat there, her hands folded in her lap, watching Nia's every move. Nia's fingers tightened around Kima. Her mind flashed back to the whispered phone call, the strange looks, the secret of feeding. The pieces were falling into place, and the picture they painted was horrifying. Her legs felt weak, but she kept her stance. "You will not give my baby anything without my permission," she said slowly, her voice trembling with both fear and anger. She reached out and picked up the bottle, holding it away from Mama Ino. The liquid inside sloshed, a murky dark color that made her skin crawl. Mama Ino didn't try to stop her. She just looked at Nia with an expression that sent a chill down her spine, a strange mix of irritation and something darker. As Nia stepped back, holding both Kima and the bottle, one thought burned in her mind. This was no harmless tradition. Whatever was inside that bottle, it was never meant to help her child. And now she needed to find out the truth, before it was too late. Nia's heart was beating so hard she could feel it in her throat, but she forced her face to stay calm. She shifted Kima in her arms and let out a shaky breath. "All right, Mama," she said softly, forcing a small smile. "If you say it's just herbs, then I believe you." Mama Ino's eyes narrowed slightly, as if she didn't fully trust the sudden change in Nia's tone. But then she gave a short nod and reached for the baby. Nia stepped back quickly, pretending to adjust Kima's blanket. "She's a bit fussy," Nia said. "I'll keep her with me for now." The black bottle was still sitting on the bed, its cap loose. Nia's mind raced. She couldn't risk leaving it there, not after what she had seen and smelled. While Mama Ino turned to straighten a pillow, Nia slid the bottle into the folds of her wrapper, feeling the cool glass press against her hip. "Maybe you can show me how to make the herbs tomorrow," Nia added casually, trying to keep her voice light. "I want to learn all the ways to keep my baby healthy." Mama Ino gave a tight smile but said nothing. Nia walked out of the room slowly, every step feeling like she was carrying a secret too heavy to bear. Once she was in her own bedroom, she shut the door, her hands trembling as she pulled out the bottle. She twisted the cap just enough to smell it again. The bitter, chemical stench made her gag. She quickly wrapped it in an old cloth and hid it deep inside her laundry basket, beneath layers of clothes. Her mind was spinning with questions, fear, and anger. Why would Mama Ino give something like this to Kima? And what exactly was in it? All evening Nia acted normal. She smiled when Mama Ino spoke, laughed politely at her stories, and even let her hold Kima for a short while. But behind her calm eyes, Nia was already making plans. She knew she had to find answers and proof before confronting anyone. It was the quiet before something big. Deep down Nia could feel it. A storm was coming, and this time she would be ready. The next morning, Nia woke up before anyone else in the house. Kima was still asleep, curled like a tiny ball against her chest. She kissed her daughter's forehead, then carefully placed her in her crib. The black bottle, still wrapped in cloth, was hidden in her bag. Her heart pounded as she stepped quietly out of the house. The streets of Bamenda were waking up, market women setting up their stalls, taxi horns blaring, the smell of puff-puff frying in the air. But Nia barely noticed. She walked quickly to the small local clinic she trusted, one where the nurses knew her by name. Inside, she explained to the lab technician in a low voice, "I need to know what's inside this. It might have been given to my baby." The man's eyebrows shot up, but he didn't ask too many questions. He took the bottle and promised to run tests immediately. The waiting felt endless. Nia sat on a wooden bench, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles hurt. When the technician finally returned, his face was serious. He handed her a piece of paper and said quietly, "Madam, this is dangerous. It's a slow-acting poison. If given in small amounts over time." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Nia's knees almost gave way. She clutched the report, her vision blurring for a moment. She thanked him and walked out into the sunlight, which suddenly felt harsh and unforgiving. She knew she couldn't handle this alone. There needed to be a witness, someone the family respected, someone whose word carried weight. She went straight to the home of Eldern Four, an old family friend and respected community leader. When he saw her at the door, pale and trembling, he invited her in immediately. She told him everything, from the whisper she overheard, to the day she found Mama Ino feeding Kima from the bottle, to the clinic's results. Eldern Four listened without interrupting, his face grave. Finally he said, "This cannot be hidden. If we are to bring truth to light, I must be there when you confront her." Nia nodded, relief and fear mixing in her chest. They agreed on a plan. That weekend, when the whole family would gather for lunch, they would place the evidence on the table, the bottle, the medical report, and the truth that could no longer be ignored. As Nia left his house, holding the bottle and the paper tight, she felt something shift inside her. The fear was still there, but now it had a partner: determination. The trap was set, and this time she would see it through to the end. The living room buzzed with laughter and the smell of jollof rice. Relatives filled every chair, catching up on gossip and sharing jokes. Nia sat quietly beside Akong, her heart pounding so hard she could barely hear the chatter. Eldern Four sat across from her, watching closely, giving her a small nod. It was time. She stood slowly, holding Kima in one arm and a small cloth bundle in the other. The room fell a little quieter. "I have something to say," she began, her voice steady but tight. Curious faces turned toward her. She walked to the center table, unwrapped the cloth, and placed the small black bottle in the middle. Gasps rippled through the room. "This," she said, her eyes scanning the family, "is what my mother-in-law has been giving my child." Murmurs started, but she raised her hand. From her bag, she pulled out the folded clinic report and laid it beside the bottle. "I took it to be tested. It is poison, slow-acting, enough to harm or kill if given over time." The room exploded with shocked voices. "Poison? Is this true? Mama Ino, explain yourself." Chairs scraped the floor as relatives leaned forward, eyes wide. Akong's face went pale. He looked at the bottle, then at his mother, disbelief frozen on his features. "Mama, what is this?" His voice cracked. Mama Ino shifted in her seat, her hands trembling. "They are just herbs," she said quickly, but her voice lacked conviction. "This girl twists everything." "Stop," Eldern Four cut in firmly. "I saw the report myself. The tests do not lie." The room grew heavy with silence. Some relatives shook their heads in disgust. Others whispered prayers under their breath. Mama Ino looked around, as if searching for someone to defend her, but no one spoke. Akong's eyes filled with tears. "You could have killed my daughter," he said softly, the hurt in his voice sharper than any shout. For the first time since Nia had met her, Mama Ino looked small, her confidence stripped away. No excuses could hide the truth anymore. Her lies had crumbled in front of everyone, and now there was no turning back. The day after the confrontation, 2 police officers came to the house. Their voices were calm but firm as they spoke to Mama Ino. She didn't fight, didn't shout, she just stood up slowly and let them lead her away for questioning. The sight left the whole family in stunned silence. For Nia, it was a strange mix of emotions. Part of her felt relief, knowing Kima was finally safe. Another part felt an ache, not for the woman herself, but for the fact that a grandmother could do something so cruel. The clinic had assured her that Kima, though exposed, would recover fully. With proper care and love, the baby's bright smile soon returned, her tiny hands reaching for her mother again. Every giggle, every coo felt like a gift Nia almost lost. Akong, shaken by the truth, finally stood by his wife. He apologized again and again, promising that things would never return to how they were. Together they made a decision. They would leave the family house and build a home of their own. Their new place was small but filled with peace. Sunlight streamed through the windows, and laughter replaced the tension that once haunted Nia's days. She could cook without criticism, dress without judgment, and rock her baby to sleep without fear. Every night, as she watched Kima sleep, Nia made the same silent promise. No one would ever harm her family again. She had faced fear, betrayal, and danger, and survived. Now she was stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to protect the life they were building. It wasn't just a new home. It was a new beginning,